The station floated in space like a massive silver wheel. Inside, Captain Han Jiwoo walked down a long corridor. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. She wore her dress uniform, dark blue with gold buttons. Behind her walked Commander Kang Hyun-ki. He carried a metal case in both hands. The case was heavy. They reached two giant doors. The doors opened slowly. Inside was a huge room full of aliens. Jiwoo had seen aliens before, but never this many. Some had blue skin. Others had scales. A few had 4 arms. All of them turned to look at the two humans. Ambassador Yoon Da-eun stood near the center of the room. She smiled when she saw Jiwoo. Da-eun was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been talking to Earth for humanity for 20 years. Today was important. Today, humanity would show the galaxy what they could do. The room grew quiet. An alien stepped forward. He was tall and thin with purple skin. His name was Vrax. He was a military advisor for the Galactic Council. Vrax looked at the humans like they were children. Da-eun spoke first. Her voice was calm and clear. She told the council about Earth. She explained how humans had finally built ships that could travel between stars. She talked about peace and friendship. Then she nodded at Jiwoo. Jiwoo stepped forward. She opened the metal case. Inside were 3 weapons. They looked simple compared to the alien weapons around the room. The alien weapons glowed. They hummed with energy. They looked like they came from the future. The human weapons looked old. They were made of metal and plastic. They had triggers and barrels. Jiwoo picked up the first weapon. It was a rifle. She held it carefully. Vrax laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Other aliens joined in. The sound filled the room. Jiwoo felt her face grow hot, but she did not speak. She passed the rifle to Hyun-ki. Hyun-ki knew what to do. He checked the rifle. He made sure it was safe. Then he raised it to his shoulder. He aimed at a practice target on the far wall. The target was made of special material that could show damage. Hyun-ki pulled the trigger. The rifle made a loud crack. The sound echoed in the room. Smoke came from the barrel. The target showed a small hole. But something else happened too. The rifle had pushed back against Hyun-ki. His shoulder moved. His whole body shifted. He had to brace his legs to stay steady. This was normal for humans. They were used to it, but the aliens had never seen anything like it. Vrax burst out laughing again. This time he could not stop. He held his stomach. Tears ran down his purple face. He pointed at Hyun-ki. "The weapon pushes you," Vrax said between laughs. "Your own weapon fights against you. This is your technology? This is what you bring to the council?" More aliens laughed now. Some shook their heads. Others whispered to each other. Jiwoo heard the word primitive several times. She heard the word backward. Her hands formed fists at her sides. An alien with green scales held up his own weapon. It was beautiful. It glowed with blue light. He aimed at another target and fired. A beam of pure energy shot out. It hit the target and left a black mark. The alien did not move at all. There was no sound, no smoke. "No pushback, you see," Vrax said. He walked toward the humans. He was still smiling. "Real weapons do not fight their users. Real weapons are clean, efficient. Your weapons are toys. Dangerous toys that hurt the person holding them." Jiwoo took a deep breath. She had expected this. Daeun had warned her. The aliens thought they were better than humans. They had been traveling in space for thousands of years. They had technology that seemed like magic. Of course they would look down on human weapons. But Jiwoo knew something they did not. She had seen what human weapons could do. She had trained with them her whole life. She knew their power. Ambassador Da-eun stepped forward. Her voice was still calm, but there was steel in it now. She suggested a demonstration. A real test. She said the humans would show the full power of their weapons, not just a small rifle. The big guns. The weapons they put on their warships. Vrax stopped laughing. He looked at Da-eun. Then he looked at Jiwoo. He saw something in the captain's eyes, something that made him pause. But only for a moment. "Of course," Vrax said. He waved his hand. "We would be happy to see more of your primitive weapons. Perhaps the bigger ones push you even harder?" The other aliens laughed again. They thought this would be entertaining. They would get to watch the humans embarrass themselves more. It would be a good story to tell later. Jiwoo looked at Hyun-ki. He nodded. They both knew what was coming. They had prepared for this moment. The commander put the rifle back in the case. He closed it with a soft click. The council leader spoke up. He was an old alien with white fur and wise eyes. He said they would arrange the demonstration for the next day. The humans could use the military testing range. It was a large facility where the council tested all new weapons. Everyone would be able to watch safely. Jiwoo bowed slightly. She thanked the council leader. Then she turned and walked out of the room. Hyun-ki followed her. Dae-yoon stayed behind to handle the details. In the corridor, Hyun-ki spoke quietly. "They think we are fools," he said. "Let them," Jiwoo replied. Her voice was hard. "Tomorrow they will learn. Tomorrow they will understand why the weapon pushes back." They walked back to their ship. The Indomitable waited in the docking bay. It was a human warship built for combat. On the outside, it looked rough compared to the sleek alien vessels. But Jiwoo knew what was inside. She knew what the railguns could do. That night, Jiwoo could not sleep. She lay in her quarters and stared at the ceiling. She thought about Vrax's laughter. She thought about the way the aliens had looked at them, like they were nothing, like humans were just clever animals who had stumbled into space. But she also thought about physics, about Newton's laws, about energy and momentum. The aliens had forgotten something important. Or maybe they had never learned it. When you fire a weapon, the energy has to go somewhere. If the weapon does not push back, where does that energy go? Human weapons pushed back because they threw something forward, something heavy, something fast. The recoil was not a flaw. It was proof. Proof that a massive amount of energy was being transferred into a projectile. Jiwoo smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow they will see what happens when that projectile hits something. Tomorrow they will see the size of the hole it makes. She finally fell asleep. Her dreams were full of thunder and lightning, of metal screaming through space, of holes the size of houses punched through alien armor. When she woke, she was ready. Today was the day humanity would stop being a joke. The council meeting room was packed. Every seat was full. Aliens from 100 worlds had come to hear the explanation. What they had seen at the testing range had spread quickly. Now everyone wanted to understand how it was possible. Dr. Choi Yoon-ji stood at the front of the room. She was a physicist from Earth. She had gray hair tied back in a simple bun. She wore glasses even though she could have had her eyes fixed. She said the glasses helped her think. Behind her, a large screen showed diagrams and numbers. Captain Jiwoo sat in the front row with Ambassador Dae-yoon. Commander Hyun-ki stood near the back. They wanted to see how the aliens would react to the truth. Vrax sat near the middle. He looked like he had not slept. His eyes were red. He kept looking at his datapad, checking the numbers over and over. Dr. Choi began to speak. Her voice was calm and patient, like a teacher explaining something to students. She started with the basics. Energy, she said. Everything in the universe is about energy. How you create it, how you store it, how you use it. Your weapons use energy directly, she continued. Plasma weapons heat gas until it becomes superheated matter. Particle beams accelerate tiny particles to high speeds. These are elegant solutions. They are efficient, but they have limits. The screen showed a plasma bolt hitting a target. The numbers appeared beside it. Temperature, energy dispersal, penetration depth. The aliens nodded. They knew this information already. Human weapons work differently, Dr. Choi said. We do not use energy directly. We use energy to move mass. We take something solid and heavy and throw it very, very fast. The screen changed. Now it showed a diagram of a railgun. The aliens leaned forward. They studied the design. It looked simple, almost crude. 2 metal rails, a projectile between them, a massive power source. When we activate the railgun, Dr. Choi explained, electricity flows through the rails. This creates a powerful magnetic field. The magnetic field pushes the projectile forward. The more electricity we use, the faster the projectile moves. An alien raised his hand. He had blue skin and 4 eyes. But this is inefficient, he said. You lose energy to heat, to resistance, to friction. Why not just use the energy directly? Dr. Choi smiled. Because of physics, she said. Let me show you. The screen showed an equation. Kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. The aliens stared at it. Some of them recognized it. Others looked confused. This is the key, Dr. Choi said. Velocity is squared. That means if you double the speed, you get 4 times the energy. If you triple the speed, you get 9 times the energy. Speed matters more than anything else. She clicked to the next slide. It showed the tungsten slug from yesterday's demonstration. Our projectile weighs 5 kilograms, she said. We accelerated to 7 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy is over 120 megajoules. The room was silent. The aliens were doing calculations in their heads. They checked their data pads. The numbers were correct. 120 megajoules of kinetic energy concentrated in a small piece of metal. Your plasma rifle, Dr. Choi said, pointing to one of the aliens, delivers about 5 megajoules. It is efficient. It is clean. But our slug carries 24 times more energy, and all of that energy gets transferred into the target on impact. Vrax stood up. His hands were shaking. But your shields, he said. Our energy shields stop particle beams. They stop plasma. Surely they can stop a piece of metal. Dr. Choi shook her head gently. Your shields work by deflecting or absorbing energy, she said. They are designed for weapons that deliver their damage through heat or electromagnetic force. But our projectile is different. It has mass. Real solid mass moving at incredible speed. The screen showed yesterday's test. The slug hitting the energy shield. The shield trying to stop it. Failing. The slug punching through like the shield was not there. Your shields can stop the energy, Dr. Choi said, but they cannot stop the momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity. Our projectile has enormous momentum. It has to go somewhere. The shield cannot absorb it, cannot deflect it. The projectile just keeps going. Captain Jiwoo stood up. She had been quiet until now. She walked to the front of the room and stood beside Dr. Choi. May I add something? She asked. Dr. Choi nodded and stepped aside. Jiwoo looked at the assembled aliens. There is something else you need to understand, she said. Why humans never stopped developing these weapons. Why we kept using kinetic energy even after we discovered other technologies. She gestured to the screen. A picture of Earth appeared. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. For thousands of years we fought wars on this planet, Jiwoo said. In the atmosphere. Under gravity.
In weather and wind and rain. Energy weapons are affected by atmosphere, she continued.
Plasma cools and disperses. Lasers scatter in dust and humidity. But a bullet does not care about the weather. A shell does not care about the air. Mass and velocity work the same everywhere. An alien with green scales spoke up. But you fight in space now, she said. Atmosphere does not matter in space. True, Jiwoo said. But we learned something important on Earth. We learned that the simplest weapon is often the best weapon. No complicated technology to break down. No exotic fuel requirements. Just physics. Pure, reliable physics. She walked closer to Vrax. He looked up at her. You mocked us yesterday, Jiwoo said. You laughed at our weapons because they have kickback. Because they push against the user. You thought this was a flaw. Vrax said nothing. He just stared at her. The kickback is not a flaw, Jiwoo said. It is evidence. Evidence of Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. When our railgun fires, it pushes back with enormous force. That same force pushes the projectile forward. The recoil tells us our weapon is working. It tells us the projectile is carrying massive energy toward the target. She turned to address the whole room. Your energy weapons have no recoil because they transfer small amounts of energy, she said. That is why they are elegant, why they seem advanced. But do not mistake elegance for power. Our weapons push back because they hit forward with devastating force. We embrace the kickback. We train for it. We build our weapons around it. Because we know what it means. The room was completely silent. The aliens looked at each other. Some looked frightened. Others looked thoughtful. A few looked impressed. They were beginning to understand. These humans had not just stumbled into space with primitive weapons. They had brought weapons that worked on fundamental principles. Weapons that could not be easily defended against. Dr. Choi stepped forward again. If there are no more questions, she said, I have prepared detailed technical documents. Anyone who wishes to study our weapons technology is welcome to request them. Vrax stood up slowly. He looked older now. Tired, his voice was quiet when he spoke. I apologize, he said. He looked at Jiwoo. I was arrogant. I judged your technology without understanding it. I made assumptions based on appearance rather than function. That was foolish of me. Jiwoo nodded. She accepted the apology without words. The meeting ended. The aliens filed out slowly. They talked in small groups. They looked worried. The universe had just become more complicated and much more dangerous. The testing range was enormous. It stretched for several kilometers inside the station. The walls were made of special metal that could withstand anything. Or so the aliens claimed. Along one side stood observation windows. Behind the thick glass, dozens of alien species gathered to watch. Jiwoo stood in the control room with Ambassador Da-eun. Below them, on the range floor, Lieutenant Park Min-ji prepared the demonstration. Min-ji was young but skilled. She had trained on railguns for 5 years. Next to her, Engineer Lee Tae-yang checked the weapon systems one last time. The targets were set up at the far end of the range. The first target was made of composite armor. This was what most alien ships used for protection. It was light but strong. It could handle heat and pressure. The second target had an energy shield around it. The shield glowed with a soft blue light. Behind these were several more targets lined up in a row. Vrax entered the control room. He brought several other military advisors with him. They all wore confident smiles. One of them carried a device that would measure the damage. They wanted exact numbers. They wanted proof that human weapons were weak. Perhaps you would like to see our weapons first, Vrax suggested, as a comparison, so you can understand what real military technology looks like. Daeun nodded politely. Of course, she said. We would be honored. An alien soldier entered the range. He carried a plasma rifle. The weapon was sleek and beautiful. It hummed with contained energy. The soldier aimed at one of the spare targets and fired. A bolt of superheated plasma shot across the range. It hit the target with a bright flash. The measurement device beeped. Numbers appeared on a screen. The plasma had heated the target to 3,000 degrees. The surface had melted. A hole the size of a fist had burned through. The alien soldier had not moved at all when he fired. No recoil. No noise except for the hum of the weapon. Very impressive, Daeun said. Jiwoo said nothing. She watched the screens carefully. Another alien demonstrated a particle beam weapon. This one fired invisible energy. The target simply disintegrated where the beam touched it. Molecules broke apart. Matter turned to dust. Again, no recoil, no sound. Just efficient destruction. Vrax looked pleased. He turned to Jiwoo. These are standard weapons, he said. Every species in the council uses similar technology. Clean, precise, no waste. Now please show us what humanity has brought. Jiwoo spoke into a communicator. Min-ji, she said, you are clear to proceed. On the range floor, Min-ji moved to the railgun. It was much larger than the rifle from yesterday. This weapon was meant for ship-to-ship combat. It was mounted on a heavy platform that was bolted to the floor. The barrel was 3 meters long. Thick cables connected it to a power generator. Tae-yang activated the charging sequence. The generator began to whine. The sound grew louder and louder. Energy flowed into the weapon's capacitors. The aliens in the observation area looked at each other. Some seemed nervous about the noise. Others just looked amused. The whine reached a peak. A light turned green on the control panel. Min-ji checked her safety equipment one more time. She wore ear protection. She stood to the side of the weapon, not directly behind it. She placed her hand on the firing control. Firing, she said calmly. She pressed the button. The sound was like the end of the world, a massive crack that shook the entire observation room. The aliens jumped. Some covered their ears even though they were behind soundproof glass. The railgun jumped backward against its restraints. Smoke poured from the barrel. The platform groaned under the stress, but that was not the important part. The projectile was a slug of tungsten carbide. It weighed 5 kilograms. The railgun had accelerated it to 7 kilometers per second. That was 25,000 kilometers per hour. That was 20 times the speed of sound. The slug hit the first target. The composite armor did not melt. It did not slowly break apart. It exploded. The entire target disintegrated in a shower of fragments. Pieces flew everywhere. The sound of the impact was like thunder. The slug kept going. It hit the second target with the energy shield. The shield flickered. It tried to stop the projectile. It failed. The slug punched through the shield like it was not there. The target behind the shield exploded just like the first one. The slug kept going. It hit a third target, then a fourth, then a fifth. Each one shattered. Metal screamed. Armor crumpled. By the time the slug finally stopped, it had destroyed 6 targets in a row. The hole through each target was the size of a dinner plate. Clean, straight, perfect. The observation room was completely silent. Every alien stared at the destruction. Their mouths hung open. Their eyes were wide. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The measurement device was going crazy. The numbers on the screen kept climbing. Finally, it stopped. The kinetic energy of the impact was displayed in bright red numbers. It was 10 times higher than anything in the database, 10 times higher than the most powerful energy weapon the Council had ever seen. Vrax's face had gone pale. His purple skin looked almost white. He stared at the screens. He looked down at the range floor where the targets used to be. Now there was just debris, twisted metal, shattered fragments, smoke. How, he whispered. His voice cracked. How is this possible? Jiwoo stepped forward. She looked at Vrax. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. Physics, she said simply. Mass times velocity squared. Kinetic energy. When you throw something heavy very fast, it hits very hard. But the recoil, another alien stammered. The weapon pushed back so hard. How can your soldiers use it? That is the point, Jiwoo said. The recoil is not a weakness. It is proof. Proof that enormous energy is being transferred into the projectile. Your energy weapons are efficient because they use small amounts of power. Our weapons use massive amounts of power. That is why they push back. That is why they destroy everything they hit. Dayun spoke up. Her voice was gentle but firm. This is a standard ship weapon, she said. Most human warships carry dozens of these. Our largest ships carry weapons 3 times this size. The projectiles travel even faster. The aliens looked at each other. Fear was starting to replace their shock. They were beginning to understand. These primitive humans with their crude weapons were not a joke. They were dangerous. Very dangerous, Vrax tried to speak. His mouth opened and closed. No words came out. He looked at the measurement device again. The numbers were still there. Still impossibly high. He had spent his whole life studying weapons. He had thought he understood warfare. Now he realized he understood nothing. Jiwoo turned to leave. Before she reached the door, she stopped. She looked back at Vrax. You asked about the kickback, she said. You mocked us for weapons that fight against us. But now you have seen what those weapons do to their targets. The kickback is nothing compared to the impact. Nothing at all. She walked out. Dayun followed. The aliens remained in the observation room. They stared at the destroyed targets. They stared at the measurements. They tried to understand how they had been so wrong, how they had made such a terrible mistake. Down on the range floor, Minji and Taeyang were already packing up the railgun. They worked quickly and efficiently. They had done this many times before. For them, this was just another day, just another demonstration. They did not know that they had just changed how the entire galaxy thought about human beings. The emergency council session was called within hours of the battle. The recordings had been transmitted across the galaxy. Every species had seen what happened. 3 Corvin destroyers eliminated in 12 seconds, 9 more forced to retreat, 1 human ship against 12. The mathematics was impossible. Yet it had happened. Captain Jiwoo stood in the same council chamber where she had been mocked weeks before. The room felt different now. The aliens watched her with new eyes. Some showed respect. Others showed fear. A few showed both. Ambassador Da-un stood beside her. Commander Hyunki was there too. So was Dr. Choi Yoonji. The humans formed a small group in the center of the massive room. Around them sat representatives from hundreds of worlds. Vrax entered the chamber. He walked slowly. His purple skin looked pale. His shoulders were slumped. He approached the human delegation and stopped. For a moment, he just stood there. Then he bowed deeply. It was a gesture of profound respect in his culture. Ambassador Yoon Da-un, Captain Han Ji-woo, he said. His voice was formal but sincere. On behalf of the Galactic Council's Military Advisory Board, I apologize. We judged your species by our standards. We assumed that advanced technology meant sophisticated appearance. We were wrong. Gravely wrong. Jiwoo studied him for a moment. Then she nodded. She accepted the apology with grace. Your apology is noted, Commander Vrax, she said. We all make assumptions. The important thing is learning from them. The Grand Counselor called the session to order. He was an ancient being from a species that had founded the Council thousands of years ago. His skin was silver. His eyes were gold. He radiated authority and wisdom. We are here to discuss the recent engagement, the Grand Counselor said. His voice was deep and resonant. The Corvin Empire violated Council law by attacking civilian vessels in neutral space. The human warship Indomitable defended those vessels. The action was justified under Council regulations, he paused. However, the manner of that defense has raised concerns. The ease with which human weapons defeated Corvan military vessels has created uncertainty. Many species are now questioning their own defensive capabilities. An alien with blue skin stood up. She was tall and thin. Her voice was sharp. The humans have demonstrated weapons that can pierce our shields and armor, she said. This makes them the most dangerous military force in the Council. How do we know they will not use this advantage against us? Dayun stepped forward. With respect, Counselor, she said. Humanity has no interest in conquest. We defended civilian transports. We gave the Corvan fleet 2 chances to withdraw peacefully. We only fired when there was no alternative. Our actions speak to our intentions. But you could turn those weapons on any of us, another alien said. His scales were green. His eyes were worried. Your railguns make our defenses worthless. 1 human ship defeated 3 Corvan destroyers in seconds. What if you decide the Council is your enemy? Jiwoo raised her hand. May I speak? She asked. The Grand Counselor nodded. I understand your concern, Jiwoo said. She looked around the room. Her voice was calm but firm. But consider this. Humanity joined the Council because we wanted to learn, to grow, to be part of something larger than ourselves. Yes, we have powerful weapons, but power alone does not make policy. She gestured to Dr. Choi. We are willing to share our weapons technology with the Council, not to arm you against each other, but to help you understand the principles, to develop defenses. Knowledge should not be hoarded. It should be shared. The Council chamber erupted in discussion. Aliens talked to each other in dozens of languages. Some seemed interested, others remained suspicious. The Grand Counselor raised his hand. The room fell silent. This is an unprecedented offer, he said. You would share military technology freely? What do you ask in return? Dayun spoke up. We ask for a true exchange, she said. You have faster-than-light technology that is more efficient than ours. You have energy shielding that we could adapt. You have medical advances that could save millions of human lives. We will teach you about kinetic weapons. You teach us what you know. Everyone benefits, and one more thing, Jiwoo added. We want to train together. Our military with yours. Not just technology exchange, tactical exchange. We will show you how to fight with kinetic weapons. You show us how to better use energy weapons. Combined, both types of weapons are more effective than either alone. Frack stood up. He looked different now. Less arrogant. More thoughtful. I support this proposal, he said. The humans are correct. We have focused on energy weapons for so long that we forgot other possibilities existed. Our military doctrine has become rigid, predictable. The humans can teach us flexibility. Other aliens began to stand. One by one, they voiced their support. Not all of them. Some remained seated, their faces dark with suspicion. But enough stood that the proposal would pass. The Grand Counselor called for a formal vote. The results appeared on screens throughout the chamber. 73% in favor, 22% opposed, 5% abstaining. The measure passed. It is decided, the Grand Counselor announced. Humanity will share kinetic weapons technology and tactical doctrine with the Galactic Council. In exchange, the Council will provide advanced FTL systems and energy shielding improvements to humanity. Joint military training exercises will begin within 6 months. The session ended. Aliens filed out of the chamber. Many stopped to speak with the human delegation. Some thanked them. Others asked technical questions. A few just wanted to shake hands with the species that had changed warfare in the galaxy. Later, Jiwoo stood in the observation deck of the station. She looked out at the stars. Dayun joined her. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. You handled that well, Dayun said finally. Jiwoo smiled slightly. I just told the truth, she said. We are not conquerors. We just want to survive and grow. The weapons are tools. Nothing more, Dayun nodded. Still, she said, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. We went from being dismissed as primitive to being feared as dangerous. That is quite a shift. Better feared than ignored, Jiwoo replied. But better respected than feared. That is why the technology sharing is important. Fear breeds conflict. Respect breeds cooperation. They watched a ship dock at the station. It was an alien vessel, sleek and elegant. But now Jiwoo knew that elegance did not equal superiority. She thought about Dr. Choi's lessons, about physics and momentum, about the difference between sophisticated and effective. 2 weeks later, the first joint training exercise began. Human Marines taught alien soldiers how to brace for recoil, how to aim kinetic weapons, how to calculate trajectories in different gravities. Engineer Li Tae-yang worked with alien engineers to adapt railgun technology to their ships. In exchange, human pilots learned advanced energy weapon techniques. Human engineers studied alien shield generators. Dr. Choi worked with alien physicists to develop hybrid systems that combined both technologies. Vrax attended every training session. He took notes constantly. He asked questions. He practiced firing human weapons until his shoulder was bruised from the recoil. One day, Jiwoo found him at a training range. He was firing a standard assault rifle. Each shot pushed him back. Each shot made a loud crack. He was grinning. "I understand now," he said when he saw Jiwoo. "The kickback. I thought it was a design flaw. But now I feel it. I feel the power leaving the weapon. I feel the force being transferred. It is beautiful in its simplicity." Jiwoo picked up another rifle. She loaded it and aimed downrange. She fired. The familiar push against her shoulder. The crack of the discharge, the hole appearing in the target. She had done this thousands of times. But seeing it through Vrax's new understanding made her appreciate it again. "Physics does not care about elegance," she said. "It does not care about sophistication. It only cares about results, mass times velocity, action and reaction. These are the rules of the universe. We just learned to use them well." Vrax nodded. He aimed and fired again. The recoil pushed him back. The target gained another hole. "And your weapons make very effective holes," he said with a laugh. That night, Jiwoo returned to the Indomitable. She walked through the ship, checking on her crew. They were relaxed now. The tension from the battle had faded. They had proven themselves. Not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. She stopped at the weapons bay. The railguns sat silent in their mounts. Massive, powerful, simple in design but devastating in effect. She placed her hand on one of the barrels. It was cool to the touch. Waiting for the next time it would be needed, Commander Hyun-ki found her there. "Captain," he said, "we just received new orders. The Council wants us to escort a diplomatic mission to Corvin space. They are negotiating a formal peace treaty." Jiwoo smiled. "Peace through strength," she said. "It works." They returned to the bridge. The Indomitable prepared to depart. As the ship moved away from the station, Jiwoo looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, the Corvins were rebuilding their fleet. But now they would build it differently. With respect for kinetic weapons. With understanding of physics. With knowledge that elegance and power were not the same thing. The galaxy had learned a lesson. One that humanity had known for centuries. The weapon that pushes back is not weak. The noise is not a flaw. The kickback is not a mistake. These are all signs of a fundamental truth. 3 weeks had passed since the demonstration. The galaxy had been quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Da-un had warned that peace never lasted long. She had seen patterns in galactic politics. When someone new showed strength, others would test that strength. It was only a matter of time. The test came on a Tuesday morning. Earth time. Captain Jiwoo was drinking coffee in her quarters when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the Indomitable. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke in a calm voice. "All crew to battle stations. Hostile forces detected." Jiwoo was on the bridge in 90 seconds. She slid into her command chair and strapped in. Commander Hyun-ki was already there. His fingers moved across his console. Lieutenant Kim Subin sat at the pilot station. Her hands rested on the controls, ready to move the ship at a moment's notice. "Report," Jiwoo ordered. Hyun-ki pulled up a tactical display. 12 hostile ships, he said. Corvin Empire. They dropped out of hyperspace near the colony convoy. The convoy has 3 transport ships carrying 15,000 colonists. The transports are unarmed. Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten. The Corvins were one of the most aggressive species in the Council. They had opposed humanity's membership from the beginning. They had called humans weak, primitive. Now they were testing that assessment. "Distance?" Jiwoo asked. "The convoy is 300,000 kilometers from our position," Hyun-ki said. "The Corvin fleet is moving to intercept. They will reach the transports in 12 minutes. "How long until we intercept?" Jiwoo asked Subin. 10 minutes if I push the engines," Subin replied. Her voice was steady. She had trained for this her entire adult life. "Do it," Jiwoo said. "All hands prepare for combat." She opened a channel to the convoy. "This is Captain Han Jiwoo of the Indomitable. We are inbound. Hold your position. Do not attempt to run. The Indomitable's engines roared to life. The ship accelerated hard. Jiwoo felt the force push her back into her chair. Around her, the crew worked quickly and quietly. They checked weapon systems, charged capacitors, loaded railgun ammunition. This was not a drill. The tactical display showed the Corvin ships getting closer to the convoy. They were sleek vessels painted black with red markings. Each one carried plasma cannons and missile launchers. Each one had powerful energy shields. Against most enemies, they would be overwhelming, but they had never fought humans before. 8 minutes until intercept, Subin announced. The Corvins sent a transmission. Jiwoo's screen showed an alien face. He had gray skin and black eyes. Ridges ran along his skull. His uniform was covered in medals. This was a military commander used to winning. Human vessel, the commander said. His voice was cold. These transports are violating Corvin space. They will surrender or be destroyed. If you interfere, you will share their fate. Jiwoo kept her face calm. This is neutral space, Commander, she replied. The transports have every right to be here. You are the one in violation of Council law. The Corvin commander smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Council law, he said. We are not bound by Council law when our security is threatened. Stand down, human. You are outnumbered 12-1. Your demonstration was impressive, but this is real combat. You cannot win. Jiwoo's eyes hardened. Commander, she said quietly, I am going to give you one chance. Turn your ships around and leave. If you do not, I will stop you. This is your only warning. The Corvin commander laughed. The transmission cut off. 5 minutes, Subin said. Yun-Ki looked at Jiwoo. Captain, he said, 3 of the Corvin destroyers are breaking formation. They are moving to intercept us. The other 9 are continuing toward the convoy. Jiwoo nodded. They think 3 ships can handle us, she said. Let them learn. Yun-Ki, prepare man batteries. Target the lead destroyer. Subin, when we enter range, I want a firing solution on all 3 ships. The Indomitable closed the distance. The 3 Corvin destroyers grew larger on the screen. They were beautiful ships in their own way. Elegant. Deadly. They had won 100 battles. They did not expect to lose this one. 2 minutes, Subin said. The Corvins opened fire first. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness. Bright green bolts streaked toward the Indomitable. They hit the human ship's hull. The ablative armor absorbed most of the heat. Magnetic fields deflected what remained. The ship shook but held steady. Minimal damage, Yun-Ki reported. Hull integrity at 98%, Jiwoo waited. She watched the distance counter tick down. The Corvins fired again. More plasma bolts. More surface damage. Nothing serious. They were probably confused. Their weapons should be tearing through human armor. They did not know that humans had designed their ships specifically to counter energy weapons. 30 seconds, Subin said. Firing solution locked. Yun-Ki confirmed. Jiwoo leaned forward. Fire, she said. The Indomitable's main railguns fired in sequence. 6 guns, 6 slugs. Each slug weighed 5 kilograms. Each slug moved at 8 kilometers per second. The ship shuddered with the recoil. The sound was like rolling thunder. The first 2 slugs hit the lead Corvin destroyer. The energy shield flickered and died. The slugs punched through the hull like it was paper. They went in one side and out the other. Internal explosions lit up the darkness. Atmosphere vented into space. The destroyer's engines died. The ship began to tumble. The next 2 slugs hit the second destroyer. Same result. The shield failed. The hull ruptured. The ship broke apart in a shower of debris. Escape pods began launching. The crew was abandoning ship. The final 2 slugs hit the third destroyer. This captain tried to evade. He turned his ship hard. It did not matter. The slugs were too fast. They caught the destroyer mid-turn. The impact tore off the entire rear section. The ship spun out of control. The entire engagement lasted 12 seconds. 3 Corvin destroyers were destroyed or disabled. The Indomitable had a few scorch marks on its hull. Yun-Ki stared at his screens. His hands were steady, but his voice showed emotion. Direct hits on all targets, he said. Enemy vessels are no longer combat effective. Subin was already moving the ship toward the remaining 9 Corvin vessels. They had stopped advancing on the convoy. They were holding position, watching, trying to understand what had just happened. Jiwoo opened a channel to the Corvin fleet. Commander, she said, this is your second chance. There will not be a third. Leave now or share the fate of your advance ships. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the 9 Corvin ships turned. Their engines flared. They jumped to hyperspace in a flash of blue light. They were gone. The bridge was silent. The crew looked at each other. They had just won, against overwhelming numbers, against a species that had been fighting in space for centuries. They had won decisively. Ji-woo unbuckled from her chair. She stood and looked at her crew. "Well done," she said simply. "Hyun-ki, coordinate with search and rescue for any survivors. Subin, take us to the convoy. Let them know they are safe." As the Indomitable moved toward the transports, Ji-woo looked at the debris field. The remains of 3 Corvin destroyers floated in space. She felt no joy in the destruction, only relief that her people were safe, and certainty that the galaxy now knew. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was dangerous, very dangerous indeed.